Okay, here we go. I'm going to begin, will probably be the longest video I'm ever going to make on my channel, and that is I am going to get into my own personal ranking of Power Rangers. So what I've done over the last year or so is I've been rewatching all of the seasons of Power Rangers, and so I'm going to rank from worst to best the 19 seasons of Power Rangers. Now when I say 19, I'm combining all three Mighty Morphin into one, but I'm going to count Alien Rangers as its own thing. I'm combining both Samurai into one, both Megaforce into one, both Dino Charge into one, and even though Ninja Steel just ended, I'm not going to include it on this list because I want to wait until a full season of Beast Morphers comes out because it hasn't started yet, and then reevaluate Ninja Steel as a whole. I don't want to wait another year to do this list. So that gets me 19 seasons. And the way I did it was I divided them into 4 categories: great, good, and bad. And they're about 4 to 6 per category. And I'm going to film all of these in order from worst to best. So I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm going to try and do maybe like around 5 minutes each episode or each season. But even then, that could still be an hour-long video right here. And this is all my personal opinion. But I want to get a couple of ground rules. One, for some of these seasons, I have seen the Sentai, but I'm not going to have my opinions on the Sentais affect my opinion on the season. It's just ranking the Power Ranger seasons, not the Sentais. Second, my dog just came in my room. Second, I am a fan of Linkara, and I have watched his videos of how he ranked the seasons. I might make a few comparisons between my opinion and his, but it's still my opinion. It's not Linkara's opinion. Third, I'm not going to take into account standalone movies, comic books, Hyperforce, fan films. It's just going to be just the show itself. And finally, as I said, this is all personal opinion. And I'm going to try and do my best for bad seasons, at least mention the pros, and for the good seasons, mention the cons. Because there is no such thing as a perfect season of Power Rangers. So I'm going to try and be fair and give basically my overall thoughts of every season, but it's still going to be from worst to best. So, like I said, I'm going to do these in order. Don't know how long it's going to take. I might change shirts or my hair might change a few times throughout this because I don't know when I'm going to have time to record all these at once. So, here we go. One last thing I forgot to mention back at the beginning. I'm going to put the timestamps in the description and comment on this video below. So if you don't want to hear my thoughts on every season, you don't want to watch the whole video, because I don't know how long this video is going to be, I'll put them in there so you can just skip to only the seasons you want to hear me talk about, just to help save time. Alright, here we go. Okay, so this first category of seasons I'm going to talk about are the seasons that I consider to be bad. These are the ones that really just, as a whole, I will not defend that much. Each of them maybe have just a couple of good elements in them, but they are not good. I would not recommend these seasons to anybody. If you like them, hey, more power to you, but I do not like these first 4 seasons. So, yeah. Getting them out of the way first. Alright, let's start with number 19, Power Rangers Megaforce / Super Megaforce. I'm pretty sure about half of you knew this was going to be bottom, or at least next to the bottom. And I'll try my best to explain why this one's bottom and not something else, which I'll get to in a little bit. Now, this was a season adapted from the Sentai's Goseiger and Gokaiger, and I'll get back to that in a minute, why that's part of the problem with this season. But there's so much wrong with this season that it'd just be easier for me to talk about the few good things first. Vrock is a pretty good villain, and Vakar is okay, but most of the rest of the villains are forgettable or just generic. I do like Robo Knight. He's overall a really good 6th Ranger, though there is a big plot hole as to he dies, then he's back in the finale, and then he just disappears. And Orion, not a great 6th Ranger, but he has a good backstory. They just don't do much with that, unfortunately. And again, bit of a plot hole. If his planet's gone, he just decides to leave, and then I guess he comes back to Earth and stays. And as for the rest of the team, Troy's one of the worst Red Rangers, and there are some good and bad with all the Rangers. I think, like, they all have a few aspects that could work, but there really isn't anyone of the main team I can say I like. I mean, Noah's probably my favorite of the main team, but I don't really like him that much. And most of the side characters or comic relief are kind of generic and forgettable. I will say this. This is probably my biggest defense of Megaforce/Super Megaforce, in that adapting to Sentai's hurt its pacing. The first Sentai, or the first season being Goseiger, which was already a Sentai that basically had like 3 mini arcs of villains, was not a good idea, trying to adapt it into 20 episodes. Then Gokaiger, for the second season, like, they had a lot of build-up for that, like, big finale and the big fight. But sadly, like, it was not much payoff in the end. And the few tribute episodes they did do for past seasons weren't that good. And then the cameos by the past Rangers, kind of cool, but also kind of forgettable. Or not really forgettable, but just kind of generic. I mean, okay, they save some people, they come in to help the Rangers, and then they just, I guess, turn to light and disappear, teleport out. It's not really explained. And that reminds me, teleportation. That's not something you introduce in the first episode and then forget about the rest of the season. Which was a shame, because the teleporting effect was actually something I really liked. And of course, I gotta talk about Gosei and Tensu. Tensu, as a comic relief robot, he was okay. In the one episode he kind of had where he lost his memory was probably actually one of my more favorite episodes of the season, which is kind of weird. It's about the comic relief robots. Gosei, though, not much I can say that hasn't already been said. He basically constantly kept giving them new weapons, and robots were basically doing nothing. It feels like the Rangers didn't really learn that much. There were a few times they kind of had episodes that were, learning a lesson, but it didn't really feel like it was well thought out or well earned, the rewards they got. The environmental arc in the first season, it's not the worst Power Rangers have done. Oh, we'll get to that eventually, trust me. And all in all, like I said, these 2 seasons were building up to a big fight in the Super Megaforce finale that felt like it wasn't that good. I mean, I've seen Gokaiger, and I love the Sentai, and Megaforce didn't live up to it. I've seen a little bit of Goseiger, and basically what I've seen of that and Megaforce, neither are really the best of Power Rangers or Super Sentai. But yeah, as a whole, this season basically was boring and just a big disappointment. I mean, there's really not much good as a whole I can say that redeems it. And what little was good was kind of forgettable because so much of the season was boring. And yeah, for me, that was enough to put it in the bottom of these ranking these 19 seasons. Number 18, Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. I'm pretty sure a lot of you were expecting this to be the bottom spot, but it's next to the bottom for a reason, because I'll admit, this is a bad season as well, but I don't hate as much as most other people, and I'll explain why I put it above Megaforce and Super Megaforce in a minute, but let's talk about Operation Overdrive proper. Once again, there is not that much in this season I can say I like, but I'll try to get through them quickly. The biggest thing, the whole Mac being an android twist, I thought was actually pretty well handled, and I think it was one of the best twists in Power Rangers. I think, okay, subtle hints here and there, and then when it's finally revealed, it's like, okay, good build-up. Now, I don't really like how much of a jerk Mac kind of becomes for the next few episodes after he finds out he's a robot, but I'm glad he kind of gets the redemption in the end, and he does become human, so hey, happy ending there. And I will say this, Taizan, he had a strong introduction. I kind of like the idea of a normal guy being turned into a monster. The monster also tries to redeem himself. He becomes Sixth Ranger, but once he's a Ranger, he's not really a good Sixth Ranger, and the rest of the team, I don't care for. I mean, Rose is probably the only one of the rest of the team I can say I like all the way through. I mean, she does have an okay backstory, but I don't like it. I mean, Linkara already pointed out how stupid it is. She wants to be smart to get attention. The rest of the team is annoying and unbearable, so yeah. If I don't like half the team, it kind of hurts this team. And Mr. Hartford and Spencer as a mentor and comic relief are okay. Now, unlike Linkara, I actually really do like this idea of having multiple villain factions. I think it is at least handled better here in Overdrive than it was in Megaforce. Just because having all these factions at the same time, I think when they do interact, I think it works better than in Megaforce, where it's just one faction after another, which again is part of the reason why the season's above it. But again, with the exception of Moltor and Furious, I mean, the Fear Cats just wanted just to destroy the world. I mean, that's not really interesting if they're just, like, what was done with them was interesting. I guess the idea that, okay, there aren't that many left, but they're really powerful. But then, like, once they basically get the upgrade, they're just kind of not really interesting to me. And Kamdor Miratrix could have been interesting. I will say his rivalry with Will was, and then the whole Herbert Train Will was okay, but they were not that really interesting, to be honest. Like, they start off okay, but then by the end it's like kind of forgettable. And I do think the whole Norg, as he could have been funny, but he was just more annoying. So yes, the villains, again, a little bit better than Megaforce, but not by much. And I will admit this, the globe-trotting aspect, when I first saw the season, I did like this whole idea of go to place, hopefully it'll lead you to the clue, or even to the next gem. But looking back, I wasn't as interested. Most of the places weren't really that good. I mean, you had the occasional place like in Egypt that, yeah, they put a lot of effort into, but then others was like generic forest, generic island, generic, I guess, ruins. So, yeah, I mean, it didn't hold up as well as I remembered as a kid, but, I mean, it could have worked better, but I didn't hate it. But yeah, this was the last season I actually saw all the way through as a kid. So, not the best to end my, I guess, watching Power Rangers on. And as a whole, Overdrive is still not good. But overall, the reason why I put Operation Overdrive above Megaforce, like, there are a few reasons why I like it more, but the key reason was this. To me, Overdrive was bad, Megaforce was boring. I personally would have something bad over something boring, simply because if something's bad, it's memorable. And you have that anger or sadness that made you mad at it, think it's bad. Whereas something boring, you may not have that emotional connection with. Plus, to me, it's easier to explain why something bad doesn't work. Like, there are a lot of things in Overdrive that could have worked, that could have been just slightly changed. But Megaforce, yeah, I don't see how they could have changed what they did without completely rewriting the whole season to make it better. So, as a whole, the fact that I have this more stronger emotional connection and some things of it I find more memorable, that to me is why I put it above Operation Overdrive, above Megaforce. But like I said, I couldn't get higher than second from the bottom. Alright, number 17. And this might surprise some people because there are a lot of people I know who do like this season, but like I said, this is all personal preference. I don't like it. Number 17, Power Rangers Mystic Force. Now, this isn't a great season even by Power Rangers fandom, but some of you are out there thinking, really? This is third from the bottom? Yeah, because here's the thing. I've never been a big fan of basically fantasy. I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings, not a fan of Harry Potter, not a fan of Game of Thrones. So when I heard Power Rangers was going to be doing the whole Wizards and Magic season, I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to like it, but I'll at least watch it. And I was right. Even as a kid, I didn't like this season. And looking back, I still don't like it. Now, once again, there are a few aspects of the season I kind of like. But like I said, there's a lot that I don't. And that's why it's where it is. I don't like Nick. He's once again another Red Ranger that I don't like. And the rest of the Ranger team core are all okay. I like the idea of having two sisters as Rangers. I like that they let Xander keep his New Zealand accent and play into his character. I like Chip. But for some of our Rangers, there were some elements that felt like they were, I guess, set up but didn't go anywhere. Like the whole Chip training to be a knight thing. Madison and Nick kind of was somewhat set up, but then it doesn't go anywhere. Let's see, who else? Rest of the cast, okay. Let's see. I mean, Udana, I don't mind the fact that she was kind of sidelined for a good chunk of the season, losing her power early on. I haven't seen much of Magi Ranger. From what I've read, I think she died, and then they found a way to bring her back. I'm kind of glad they kept her around as the mentor figure here. Linkara did a better rant as to why Korag was not a great, I guess, redeemable evil general. And I will say I kind of like the whole twist that he was Nick's father, but I will say, as someone, I believe it was Database Rangers Power Reviews pointed out, Nick's actor is Latino, but both of the actors who play his parents are Caucasian. I don't know if anyone else realized that. I didn't as a kid, but just want to point that out now. But yeah, a huge problem with this season. Most of the Rangers are just okay at best, but the side characters and the comic relief characters tend to get more development. And again, Linkara did a better rant on this than I could. But the show's called Power Rangers. You shouldn't give more character development and growth to the side characters than the main characters. And as for the villains, I want to go and say this now, because I'm probably going to say it a few other times in the future. One thing I've noticed with Power Rangers, looking back on all these seasons, the one type of villain they never seem to get right for me is demons. Or like monsters of hell or the underworld or whatever. It's like, they never seem to make demons interesting in Power Rangers. I don't get why that is. There's a few other seasons down the line that have demons as villains, and it's weird. This is the season that made me realize this. Why do demons in Power Rangers never seem interesting? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good, I guess, build-up with the idea of, like, good versus dark magic. And there are a few good multi-parters in this season. Dark Wish is, in my opinion, one of the best multi-parters of the Disney era. But, for the most part, this was the first season that did 32 episodes, and it's obvious that, at least specifically, especially for the finale, that going to 32 episodes instead of around 40 to 50 like they had basically since the very beginning of Power Rangers up to this point, they kind of had to rush a few elements or story elements of the season, story plots, sorry. So it's kind of evident that some elements were rushed. Let's see, what else? There are, like I said, a couple of one-off villains that are kind of interesting, but for the most part, I mean, the main villain at the end, the Master, he had a lot of interesting build-up, because we only saw mostly just part of his face a good chunk of the season, and then he's kind of defeated in, I guess you could say, a unique way, but kind of a dumb way. He's overfed all the good magic in the world. I don't know, maybe it made more sense in the Sentai. Even as a kid, I thought that was kind of weird in the finale. The whole Rita Mystic Mother connection, I will say I did like that. Even as a kid, I thought, oh, that's awesome. And then finding out that, oh, the actress who played her in the Sentai for Magi Ranger was the same who played Rita's counterpart for Zyuranger. And then, you know, the actress died shortly after this. So I thought that was a good tribute. So yeah, there are, once again, a few good elements throughout the season. And a few specific episodes I do like. Whereas, for the most part, Megaforce and Operation Overdrive, there really weren't that many specific episodes or arcs I liked. But, yeah, as I said earlier, as a whole, personally, I just don't like this season. If you like it, more power to you, but even with my personal opinion on fantasy versus, say, sci-fi as a nerd, getting that out of the way, honestly, I just couldn't look in my heart and put this one third from the bottom. So, this is where it falls. Alright, number 16. The last of the bad seasons. Power Rangers Turbo. This was, for the longest time, the season everyone considered to be the worst. Like, oh, Power Rangers, what did you do? Like, what were you thinking? Like, this was so bad. And I was a kid. I remember watching the season a little bit. And yeah, there are problems with it. But I think as time has gone on and we've seen other bad seasons come and go, this one, still bad, but no longer considered the worst. Now, I will say this. Similar to the whole multiple villain factions arcs thing with Megaforce, splitting up the cast halfway through the season is one reason why the season doesn't work. Because, as Linkara pointed out, oh, this season could have been so good. Like, having the Power Rangers finally graduate from high school, now they're adults. But then halfway through, we go back to teenagers again. Yeah, that was kind of wasted potential. Now, I will say this. I don't hate Justin. As a kid, I found him a little annoying, but looking back, he's actually, for the most part, pretty useful, somewhat well-written. And he does have for only appearing in this one season, in the Zordon era, where, you know, we had people go for multiple seasons, I think he actually has developed pretty well for the most part, and I do like the connection he has with his dad. And I do think he works pretty well off with the rest of the cast. And I think, for the most part, the new team does pretty well. I mean, coming in like 4 new Rangers all at once, I think for the most part they're all okay. And I will say I think for the most part they all do better in space than they do here. And yeah, let's get into the biggest problem of the season. Divatox and her gang are probably some of the worst villains. This is the only time I'm going to talk about an actual Power Rangers movie because Turbo, the Power Rangers movie, is canon with the show. Yeah, I don't know why she wants to conquer the world. I mean, I guess you could say she's out for revenge for the Power Rangers. I guess basically ruining her wedding. But there really is no reason why she wants to conquer the world. I mean, again, Linkara, he gave a far better rant as to why she's a better villain than I am. It's still one of my favorite rants of his. But yeah, her and her gang are just not great, competent villains. I mean, the whole there's a couple times where they want to rob banks. That's kind of dumb. Let's see, what else? By the way, did anybody else notice there's this weird, not really motif or theme, but just something that happens in a few episodes? The whole animals transforming to people transforming into animals. I mean, Bulk and Skull and the chimps. A couple of the Piranhatrons turned to animals. I think there was a one-off episode where a dog turned into a guy and I think had a crush on Cassie or something. Yeah, what was with that? It was kind of a weird thing. Even as a kid, I thought, why are animals transforming a lot? Or people transforming into animals? Again, Bulk and Skull, the whole chimp thing for the first half of the season was really dumb. Them constantly going back and forth between jobs in the second half of the season was dumb. I will say this, the Blue Centaurian and the Phantom Ranger, I really love both of them, and I'm glad they did come back, though really it was mostly Phantom Ranger for In Space. I do think that they both are pretty underrated characters in my opinion. Let's see, what else? Like I said, there really is not that much on the season I can say that other people haven't already said. I mean, the only other thing I can really say is I wish the season was better, but like I said, after seeing other seasons come after it that are, in my opinion, worse, this one's still bad. But maybe just because I saw it as a kid and I didn't hate it then, looking back, I still don't hate it now. It's still bad, but yeah, I mean, it'll still go down as the worst of the Mighty the Zordon era, but yeah, as a whole, it's still bad, but I don't have the anger towards it other people do, but like I said, this is the top of the bad, but it's still bad. Okay, now that we've gotten those first 4 seasons out of the way, now we're on to the category that I consider to be These next 5 seasons are all not really good, but they're not bad. These are not seasons I would recommend to someone who's never seen Power Rangers before. Like, you're not probably going to love these seasons. But like I said, there is enough good in them compared to the first 4 seasons that's why I don't think they're bad. But I don't think there's enough good in them to say they're good either. So, yeah, like I said, for the most part, they're all just seasons. If you like them, great. If you don't like them, fine. To me, they're just all just basically Number 15, Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. Like I said back at the beginning, I'm going to count this as its own thing. 1, because it has a slightly different theme song, and 2, because the main Power Rangers cast are basically sidelined for the season. We actually use the suits and more footage from the season Kaku Ranger. But because it's only 10 episodes, that's the main reason why it's at the bottom of the Ant category. It's only 10 episodes. So there's very little in it for me to really evaluate on its own. But I still want to talk about it proper just for real quickly. I'm going to also get this out of the way right now. Kaku Ranger is one of my personal favorite Sentais. It's in my top 5. And it was actually, I think, if not, it was either the second or third Sentai I saw all the way through. It wasn't the first. That was Gokaiger. And I forgot to mention that earlier when I did the Megaforce Super Megaforce, when I talked about that one. But yeah, so even though it's one of my personal favorite Sentais, it is a bit of a disappointment how much is squandered with Alien Rangers. Now, yeah, more aspects of Kaku Ranger are taken to Mighty Morphin Season 3, and I'll get to that soon. But as a whole, not really that much memorable with the Alien Rangers. I mean, I will say this. One thing I will give Alien Rangers credit for, it is something Power Rangers did before Sentai did it. A whole team of aliens as Power Rangers. Now, yeah, we actually went the extra mile, give them the alien heads, the whole them constantly needing water, which I'll admit, there are a few times as a kid and still now I find that legitimately funny. Like there's one where two of them go into a car wash. I think they have to take a bath like in a fountain or something. So that's kind of funny. I'll give them that. Something unique for the season. But unfortunately, most of the development of the season we don't get with the Alien Rangers themselves. It goes to the de-aged Power Rangers trying to find a way to basically fix time that had been reversed at the end of Mighty Morphin Season 3 by Master Vile. And so much focus goes towards the Kid Rangers. Then you have the arc, which I'll admit is a good arc, of them going throughout different points of time to try and find the pieces of the Zeo Crystal. Which I think, okay, this is actually a pretty good arc, and the Kid Rangers, for the most part, do okay. I mean, there are a few antics here and there that are kind of annoying, but for the most part, it's fine. It's just, this is called Alien Rangers. The Alien Rangers should have gotten more focus and development than they did. I mean, and a couple of them I actually feel like they didn't really get any development. But for the most part, the Alien Rangers are a cool idea, and I think what they did do was okay. Like I said, I love Kaku Rangers, so the fact that we actually got to use the Kaku Ranger suits, I'll take that. It's just, like I said, there really isn't that much I can say positive or negative for this season. Like I said, there's not enough bad in it for me to say it's bad, but there's really nothing too good or memorable about it. I mean, it was just a 10-episode arc that I just consider to be its own season, so yeah, that's really all I gotta say for this one. Number 14, Power Rangers Samurai / Super Samurai. Okay, real quick. Originally, I was going to do a video where I talk about the Neo Saban era as a whole and explain basically the problems with it. But if I did that before this video, it would have made it seem like I hate Samurai. I don't. It's just a lot of problems in the Neo Saban era begin with Samurai. And I think there's enough good in Samurai for it not to be a bad season. It's at least better than Super Megaforce and Megaforce, but not by much. That's why it's just here in the A category. And a lot of these problems can be forgiven, partially because they were decisions by Nickelodeon, but I still have to bring them up. Having 40 to 45 episodes split up over 2 years was kind of a bad decision. Having the first 2 episodes of the season be at the end of the first season was a dumb idea. Clash of the Red Rangers, horrible team up, really big letdown. At least once the Ranger from Operation Overdrive gave us a full team, we did not get that here. It was just, and similar with the whole adapting Goseiger and Gokaiger for Megaforce, adapting 2 Sentai movies into 1 didn't work. So there are some problems that are somewhat forgivable, but a lot of them still hurt Samurai as a whole. Let's see what else. As for the team, I don't really hate anybody from this Power Rangers team, but this is not my ideal Power Rangers team. Like if I say, oh, these are good Power Rangers teams, Samurai would not be in there. Jaden, for the most part's an okay Red Ranger. And Lauren's okay for the most part. Now part of this can also be blamed for Shinkenger bringing her in so late. Although I'd liked how they changed it to that she was his sister. And for the most part, she was also handled well, but I didn't like how the rest of the team kind of just put her down all the time. Antonio's actor's not Latino, but okay. I mean, for the most part, he was an okay 6 Ranger. Nothing too special. And the rest of the team just okay. Didn't really hate or love anybody this season. Mentor G, again, Linkara did a better rant than I could. Just not a great mentor. I think there was some potential with him, though, but I just feel like it wasn't well handled. Bulk, bringing back Bulk, and this time with Spike, Skull's son. Hey, I liked it. I thought they were legitimately funny. One of the better parts in a lot of episodes. Just wish they'd interacted with the Rangers more than they did. I mean, I can only think of maybe a handful of episodes where they legitimately interacted with the Rangers beyond just like a couple of jokes in the background. Let's see. And also something I gotta mention, and this is again a problem with Neo Saban as a whole. Doing both a Halloween episode and a Christmas episode every year, I don't mind that. And I also don't mind every season of Power Rangers doing a clip show. But having every single Halloween and Christmas episode be a clip show, 2 in 1 year, in some cases 4 for the entire season, is a bad idea. And again, part of that can be blamed a bit on Nickelodeon, but it's still gotta mention it. And with the exception of Dino Charge, which I'll get to later, none of them really stand out or feel that significant for the most part. I mean, really, I actually had to look up the 4 from this season to kind of because I could only remember 2 of them, and none of them are really that good. And let's see what else. The villains, once again, we have demons essentially from the underworld that are not really that interesting. I mean, a couple of generals are okay, but Master Xandred was boring. I mean, Diamond Decker had a couple of times where I thought they were going to go somewhere with it, but no, it was a bit of a letdown. Though I'm glad they brought Cole's actor back, which I'll get to in a minute, to play Decker, which was cool. And once again, what was his name? I forgot that general's name, who in the second season tried to basically cut open the world. Serrator, that was it. He was also a pretty cool general, but once again, we have a season where a general is cooler than the main villain, which, again, kind of a disappointment. But yeah, like I said, there are some elements of the season I like. There are a few episodes here and there that are good, and overall, I mean, like I said, the team's not bad, just not my ideal Power Rangers team. And, I mean, if you like this season, hey, more power to you. Like I said, there's just not that much that makes me hate it. But I couldn't put it any higher than this on the list. I will say when I first saw it, I didn't really like it. But then I saw Megaforce, it made me hate it which I hated more. So that kind of, in a sense, made me like the season a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, Samurai Super Samurai, just eh. Number 13, Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I wanted to put this season higher because I remember watching it as a kid and liking it when I was a kid. But rewatching it, reevaluating it, and comparing it with all the other seasons, I couldn't in good conscience put it higher than this. Now, there are some elements that, as a kid, that I liked, I still kind of like now. I still like a few of the generals. Zergane and Vexkiss are pretty cool, and I think Chuo is one of the better comic relief villains, but yeah, Lothor is not a great villain. I mean, there are a few times where I find him funny, but when he's supposed to be intimidating, outside of the Samurai 3-parter where we get his origin, which I'll come back to that 3-parter in a second, he's not really that great of a villain most of the season. And Nisa's, as redeemable villains, I'm kind of glad they got some redemption, but not really great, and the rest of the generals are kind of forgettable. As for the Rangers themselves, for the most part, I really like them all. Going back to the Samurai 3-parter, I do like Cam. He's one of my more favorite 6 Rangers. I think part of that is the fact he was basically... Most 6 Rangers were introduced about a quarter, third of the way into the show. Because we had him back from the beginning, we kind of got some of his character development before he even became a Ranger, which I think kind of helps a bit as well. I will say Blake and Hunter, kind of okay. I don't know. I feel like they could have got a little bit more development than they did. And the whole love triangle between Blake and Cam with Tori, I don't know, probably like the only element with the Rangers I don't really like. As for the main 3, they're all pretty good. I will say this, Shane's Battleizer is probably, at least in my opinion, the best Battleizer any Red Ranger ever had. It's the most awesome looking, and I think it's probably one of the better, I guess, stories to how the Red Ranger got his Battleizer. And just, I really like it. Shane's Karma's a really good 2-parter as well. Zords are the only... they're okay, I guess. I'm kind of trying to avoid talking about the Zords just because very few of them to me really stand out any manner, but I will say I do like having 3 Megazords turn into 1. I think this was the first time that happened, at least on Power Rangers, so that was pretty cool. I know the Ultra Zords, like in Mighty Morphin, don't count because like the Carrier Zords didn't actually turn combined, they just were on the bottom. Let's see what else. There were... Okay, oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, the whole Mentor turning into a guinea pig thing was kind of dumb, but it happened in the Sentai as well. I haven't seen that much of Hurricaneger, but from what I read, it didn't really make too much sense there either. I mean, there are a few funny jokes with the whole Mentor being a guinea pig, but yeah, the CGI has not aged well on that. I mean, like, even as a kid, I was like, why does this look weird, seeing him as a guinea pig? But yeah, it does not hold up well. After all these years, that CGI does not, yeah, it just does not work. But there are a few good jokes here and there, but as a Mentor, he's not as bad as, say, Mentor G, but I don't know. I feel like he didn't really do much actual mentoring of the Rangers, outside of a few cheesy, I guess, lines supposed to sound deep. Let's see. What else? I do like the theme song. Again, I'm kind of avoiding just because very few of them, I guess, are really worth talking about. That again, Linkara's talked a lot about a lot of them better than I have. Let's see. As a whole, Ninja Storm, like I said, I did love this one as a kid. Because I've always been really like ninjas, and And I just thought, oh yeah, this is a really good season. It's just, I guess it's one of those times where you take off the nostalgia goggles, like you realize it does not hold up as well as you remember from childhood, but hey, I still think it's a okay season. Is it as good as I remember? No, but I mean, there are still plenty of seasons that are worse than it. So I think in some aspects it still holds up a bit. I do like the finale. I mean, I do admit, like, having, like, a final big fight with all the monsters. Yeah, a couple of the seasons also do that, but I think Ninja Storm is one of the better ones. So, oh, and, being the first Disney season, New Zealand season, sorry. Some of the accents are noticeable, and, yeah, there are a few elements here and there. It's like, okay, yeah, looking back, yeah, this is, it's okay. I mean, there are a few issues as well, I think, with the sound and some technical issues, but they don't bother me that much. So yeah, as a whole, okay season, not as great as I remember, but I'm still think it's okay. Number 12, Power Rangers Wild Force. This one actually has the opposite problem of Ninja Storm, in that I don't really remember this one that well as a kid. I remember watching Lightspeed Rescue and Time Force, remembered watching Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, but I don't remember too much of Wild Force when I rewatched it. I just remembered a few episodes from the beginning, the team-ups, and a couple episodes from the end. I didn't really remember that much from this one. So rewatching it, I thought it probably wasn't going to be that good, and there are some things that hold it back. But there is one key element that really makes this season actually higher than it really was going to be. I thought it was going to be maybe like around the 15-14 spot, but no. There's one element that really saves the season, and I'll get to that at the end. But there are some issues with this one as well. Let's talk about the big one, the Animus arc in like the third quarter of the season. Look, Power Rangers has always had environmental messages and like save the environment. Like, it's always been a message of Power Rangers, whether it just be a couple of episodes, a specific character, maybe an arc. But this season, it sort of works. Now, the idea of all the monsters being made out of Earth's trash, hey, that's pretty cool. I like the idea of that. But this season kind of pounds it too hard in the face to be pro-environment. You got to save the planet. And that in itself wouldn't be too bad, but then when we get to the Animus arc, it is kind of insulting at times how much they're trying to push this message to save the environment. You can do a save the environment message for kids without basically talking down to kids, which also the season has another issue. A lot of child actors that aren't that good as well. Another thing that I don't think is that good this season is Merrick. Once again, a 6th Ranger I don't like, but this one's more of the acting. I don't know if it's just me, but he's one of the worst actors in Power Rangers. I don't know, he just feels very stilted. And a lot of 6th Rangers have like this lone wolf arc where I start off on my own, but then slowly kind of become more integrated with the team, more willing to fight with the team. Some seasons work better than others, and I have a few others I'm going to talk about down the line. But yeah, Merrick, not only is he not a great character, I don't even think and I'm not trying to put down the actor too much, it's just something about him, it just doesn't work. I don't know if it's like he's too stilted, for lack of a better term. The rest of the Ranger team are okay. Taylor, I thought, would have, at least going in, I thought her backstory of her being in the Air Force would have been a bigger part, but outside of, I think, 1 or 2 episodes, her whole Air Force thing doesn't come into play as much as I thought it was going to. The other 3 Rangers are all okay. They get a couple of episodes that are okay, but none of them are too great. Princess Shayla, once again, not a great mentor. And if she's a princess, is she princess of solely the Animarium? But there are no other humans on the Animarium besides the Power Rangers, so I don't get it. If she's a princess, like, is that her kingdom? Or does she just, like, keep the title? Was she a princess back 3,000 years ago? The Zords being alive is a concept I actually do like. I kind of wish more seasons did this, but that's more of an issue with the Sentai. Though from what I've read, I haven't seen that much of Gao Ranger, but I heard it wasn't one of the better Sentais either. Let's see what else. But yeah, the team-ups. I do love both team-ups. I mean, sorry, not Clash. Sorry. To the 10th, not 10th Power, that's in space, sorry. Forever Red, sorry, is a great team-up. I actually do wish it would have been a 2-parter, but I worry if it had been, it probably, because I've seen some of the lead scenes, it probably would have been weaker. And, of course, reinforcements from the future. No question. Best team up. Love Time Force. I'll get back to that later. And I do like how it gives redemption to Rancic and Nadira. Pretty great there. Let's see what else. Some of the generals, like Jin Jackson Tactica, are okay, but most of the rest of them are just generic, like nothing too special. I think it's just because the org's only purpose really is just to pollute and wreak havoc. But yeah, so as a whole, this season is okay. Some good, some bad. But like I said, there was one specific element to this season that put it higher on the list than it was going to be, and that is the relationship between Cole and Master Org. Now, I'm not going to say Master Org's an underrated villain. I just don't think he gets as much praise as he deserves because, man, Master Org is really good as a villain. Plus, his actor's awesome as well, but I think he's got one of the best backstories of any Power Rangers villain. He was friends with Cole's parents, but they ended up getting married. They ended up having a child, and they ended up getting all the publicity for him being the third, and he ended up becoming the third wheel to their research project. So when he found the seeds of the old Master Org, he ate them, and it drove him mad with power and vengeance. So he destroyed, he straight up killed Cole's parents, first of all. And he basically went on this path of, like, I want to destroy the world out of revenge. And it's like, wow, like, right off the bat, that's one of the best backstories of any Power Rangers villain, in my opinion. And he sees Cole as, like, the last remnants of his humanity, and second, like, if he destroys Cole, it shows he finally won. Which, by the way, something I forgot to mention back in Overdrive. I do like the whole Mac versus Voltron and Furious on the whole humanity idea. Something I forgot to mention there, but nevertheless, this is Wild Force's time. But yeah, and Cole, while I wouldn't say he's my favorite Red Ranger, anytime he interacts with Master Org and the whole back and forth with him on humanity thing, like, that, again, it can be argued as being pushed a bit too hard, but it is a really good message. I think it's handled really well here, better than a lot of other seasons. And yeah, having basically, I mean, the villains are always destroyed, but having them basically destroy Master Org after he abandoned all of his humanity, he went out with a bang as a villain. So, yeah, like I said, Wild Force, once again, as a whole, is a good season, but that one element, the whole relationship between Cole and Master Org, and, of course, Master Org as a villain as a whole, great element, but still couldn't put it higher than just the category. Number 11, the last of the category, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And like I said way back at the beginning, I'm counting all 3 seasons together in this. But if I didn't, they'd all still probably be in the category. Let's just get this out of the way. It was the very first of Power Rangers. Like, it started all of it. But similar to what I said back with Samurai and the whole problems in the Saban era, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers being the first, let's face it, it's cheesy, it's ridiculous, there are some issues with race, there are some unintentional, controversial things the show does, but there's also a lot of stupid things in it as well. Like there are monsters who want to turn the Rangers into bricks at one point. There's a monster that wants to eat all the world's food. There's just like a lot of stupid episodes, let's face it. Now, Rita and Zed, both as villains, I love both of them. Like, they're staples of what Power Rangers is. But again, they can be ridiculous at times. That's why some people call them the Lucy and Ricky Ricardo of evil. Like, they make that comparison because, like, yeah, they're icons, but they're ridiculous icons. But sometimes ridiculous is awesome. And plus, hey, Lord Zed scared me as a kid. Like, I was one of those people that was terrified of the guy. And unlike most people, I actually agree. I agree with Linkara in that, yeah, I think they are at their best in Season 3. Rita had a few victories on her own. Zed had a few victories on their own. But they did pretty well together. And unlike, say, Megaforce, once again, got to bring this up, doing a different season per year of the Sentai, I think worked better here. I think it was blended better. I think they worked around the whole different themes of the Sentai better than they did with Megaforce. I will say, because there were a lot of Rangers over these 3 years, I think all of them were okay. And with the exception of Tommy, just because I think Tommy, let's face it, whether you like Tommy or not, he has gotten way too much attention, way too much praise, way too much, I guess the show being focused around him as the seasons went on. But he's still a great character, and the rest of the Rangers are all pretty good characters as well. Bulk and Skull, as goofball bullies, are okay, but I agree also with Linkara. I think they are better in future seasons. I think they start to really improve season 3 with the whole police becoming police officers thing. But seasons 1 and 2, take them or leave them, I think they were just okay. Didn't love them, then hate them there. There are a few also side characters here and there, like Ernie at the juice bar, and a few other characters like Lieutenant Stone that are okay. But I want to bring this up. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, being the first, like I said at the beginning, has a lot of stupid things, crazy things, and some things that just don't hold up over 20 years later. But to be fair, a lot of seasons look back on Mighty Morphin like, what can we do to improve? Even within the Zordon era itself, it's like, what can we do differently here to make us stand out and even improve upon Mighty Morphin? And that's the thing with a lot of series that go on for long periods of time and change every year or so. It's like Sean Connery's James Bond, or Adam West's Batman, or William Hartnell's Doctor Who. The first sets the standard to what the series can be, but because the series has just begun, and often it can be limited to like budget or special effects or just maybe recognition by fandom, they're limited in what they can and can't get away with yet. So a lot of seasons have gotten better, and basically Mighty Morphin, like all those other ones I just mentioned with those other shows, the first set the standard, and a lot of seasons, as we've already seen, couldn't live up to that standard. Some seasons reached the standard, but in different ways, and as we'll see, some surpassed it. That's why I basically put it right here in the middle of the list. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a whole, if you take all 3 seasons into account, is okay. There's a lot of things that hold it back, but sometimes it's because of limitations, sometimes it's just because, well, I mean, there are stupid things, but there are also a lot of multi-parters with Mighty Morphin, and, I mean, Green with Evil is a great 5-parter, and I think there are a few others as well here and there from every season. I will say in Season 2, even though it was more of an arc than a multi-parter, switching out the 3 Ranger actors who chose to leave to bring in the new ones, that was handled pretty well. There was an arc in Season 3 with Kimberly leaving, that was also handled pretty well. I love the whole build-up to Tommy being the White Ranger. I think that was like a 2 or 3-parter. But I think it had also been kind of built up as well that Tommy was going to come back at the beginning of the season, right when he lost his powers. And like I said, I don't count the Alien Rangers as part of this, but the build-up with the Zeo Crystal that would lead into the Alien Rangers arc season was also handled pretty well. So yeah, a few arcs and multi-parters here really would help put this at the top of the A. So as a whole, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, it is shown that with time that it hasn't aged as well as I'd like, but it's iconic. And as a whole, these 3 seasons, okay, but not good. But that's where a lot of seasons also are good. They learn from the mistakes of the season and improve upon them. So yeah, overall but still memorable. And now we've reached the upper half of this list. And the next 6 seasons are the ones I call good. Now these are all seasons that have more good elements than bad elements, though there are still a few things here and there that hold them back. And that's why they're not great. And with the exception of one, each of these 6 seasons have one recurring thing in it that holds it back, that prevents them from being great. It's like this one element 5 of these 6 seasons have that prevent them from being great, at least in my opinion. Now, if these are in, say, any of these seasons in your top 5, hey, I respect that, because I do like all these seasons. I legitimately think they're all good, but there's just a few things that hold them back. But let's get into them. Number 10, Power Rangers Jungle Fury. Alright, real quick, something else I forgot to also mention with Operation Overdrive. Operation Overdrive was the last season I actually watched when it was on. Jungle Fury came out, I think I was either 8th grade or 9th grade. By that point, I was like, okay, I'm too old for Power Rangers, so I stopped watching it. I did watch Linkara's review of it, but then I finally looked it up and watched it myself. And for the most part, the season is good. But before I get into the season itself, I want to talk about one element that I've been kind of trying to avoid when I can, and that's the issue of race in Power Rangers. Look, Power Rangers always had some issues with casting, but strangely, this is the one season no one ever seems to bring up. Like, Samurai, a season so heavy influenced Japanese culture, no Japanese Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you have the black guy be the Black Ranger, you have the Asian girl be the Yellow Ranger. There's a few other examples as well, but this is the one season no one brings up. For a season so heavily influenced in martial arts, you only have one Asian mentor, and he's killed off early in the show. And you only have one Asian Ranger, and he's not... And while he's one of the main team, he's not the best Ranger. I'll get back to that in a second. And, yeah, with 8, but you could argue 2 more Rangers, only 1 that's Asian. Similar to the whole samurai thing, this is a bit of an issue, but I just find it interesting that this is the one season where that issue of race is not brought up as much. But just thought I'd bring that up. But yeah, so this was me. I basically went into this season, like I said, all I really knew about it was when the car reviewed it, and I thought it was good. As for the Rangers themselves, once again, it's an okay Ranger team. Casey, I think, is an okay Red Ranger. I am glad he came back for Megaforce, but overall, he just is I think, like an average Red Ranger. He has an okay story. Basically, he feels somewhat responsible for what happened to Jared, which I'll get to him in a second. Theo is okay as a Blue Ranger, but he is a bit annoying at times. Also, I don't know, why is it that he's the shortest actor, but then he becomes one of the tallest Rangers? I mean, at least with Turbo, they give the excuse that, oh, well, Justin has to be taller, just because, Sentai footage. But they don't really explain why his actor basically grows like a foot when he becomes a Ranger. Lily, being really the only female, is okay for the most part. Let's see, I do like Dominic, and I do think RJ is really good as well. Again, similar with Cam back from Ninja Storm. Having him be around for a few episodes from the very beginning, and then he's not a Ranger, but then he becomes a Ranger about a third of the way through the season, I think also helps his character a bit. And I do like the relationship between RJ and his father, Master Finn. I think that also works. All the Masters, the ones who are dead and the ones that are alive, they're all okay. I kind of wish Mao had been around more than he was, because he kind of isn't there for a few episodes. He comes back, maybe just to give some advice. He's not there for a few episodes, comes back maybe to help in a fight or something. But I wish we had gotten more of Mao. That was the other reason why I was kind of pissed he was gone. He's like, okay, as a mentor, this guy's going to be awesome. Dead in the first episode, which really was disappointing. Let's see, what else? Daishi is a villain inside of Jared. I think they should have gone more of a whole Jekyll and Hyde than they did. I think what they did with Jared basically being possessed by Daishi was okay. But I kind of wish we had gone more with the Jekyll and Hyde than we got. Camille, I really like Camille. I do like the whole relationship between Camille and Jared. But this is basically the element that's going to be the problem with almost all the good seasons. The villains as a whole hold the season back. I don't think that... Now, it's mostly the generals. The Phantom Beasts start off interesting, but once Weiger dies, and again kind of helps with KC's character a bit, the White Tiger and just the Tiger having that kind of feud, basically they're not really that interesting the rest of the season. And the other 3 generals at the beginning of the season, I forgot what they were called. I remember their names, just forgot what the term was for them. They were all okay. I do like the episode where one of them takes Jared back in time and changes his past so that he's more evil. But other than that, those first 3 generals weren't really that interesting for me. Okay, I will say the Zords. Once again, you have Zords that are animals, but the whole no console, like they actually have to do their fighting inside the Zord, and that's what makes the Zords move. That element was pretty cool. Like, again, I don't want to talk about the Zords too much, but this was one that really I thought stood out. Like it's them fighting, and that's what basically controls the Zords. That's cool. Let's see what else. Fran was an okay comic relief, although she did get a bit of put down a bit too much, kind of like basically. But I do like that she kind of ended up with Dominic in the end. I'm glad she got that happiness. The final fight was okay. I'm glad it wasn't just another big Megazord battle. Having all the Rangers, it kind of reminded me a bit of the Ninja Storm finale. All the Rangers fighting all the monsters was cool. But, yeah, like I said, for the most part, the season was good. The main thing is the villains kind of hold it back. And once again, we don't have a great Ranger team. But there are a few I do really like. It's just basically middle ground, bottom of the goods. Okay season. Number 9, Power Rangers Zeo. This actually was a pretty good season. I will say, going back to the whole Doctor Who comparison again, going from Mighty Morphin to Zeo, it must be like what it was like from going the Hartnell era to the Troughton era. It's a big risk to change it up this much, but man, it paid off. Now I want to talk about probably the worst element of the season. Once again, that is the villains. The Machine Empire as villains, I'm kind of split on. I think Mondo is a really good main villain, like leader of this empire. And he does have a few good episodes where he fights Tommy, and I will say this. it's one of the few times where the Rangers themselves grow, and the fact that Tommy actually defeats Mondo the way he does as a giant, like, that is awesome. I kind of wish we had more original Zord fights in Power Rangers, whether it was from the Disney or Zordon era, or Saban eras, but I know it's a budget issue, and you don't always have access to Zords, I get it, but Mondo is a really cool main villain. And Prince Gastic and Archerina, kind of sad they came in so late into the show, but when they were around, they were really good villains as well. Although it's kind of disappointing they kind of just leave the show, and that because their suits were destroyed, they probably will never reappear again. As for the rest of the royal family and the rest of the Machine Empire as a whole, they're all okay. Like, nothing really too good or too great about them. I mean, they're just all okay. So, like, half the family's great, half are just okay. That's kind of what holds it back. As for the rest of the season, it's really good. I do like the Rangers as a whole. I think introducing Tanya, she was a great Ranger, although her backstory, so she's from a different point in time. She comes to the present, but she ages up to be a teenager. But her parents are somehow alive in this time period. Now, we don't know exactly how far it is, but it's implied she's not exactly from our time. But also, the whole Orc the Conqueror could have been potentially good, but he was underused. I had seen a few episodes of O-Ranger where he was around, and he was better there. But I think I get why they didn't use him, because little kids were often involved, and it was hard to, I guess, adapt that Sentai footage into the US to bring him around more often. Let's see, what else? Tommy, once again, gets a lot of focus this season, but I think it's a little bit better here. I will say, Jason David Frank's actor said he's not Native American, but I don't mind the whole Native American arc where we find his brother. Like, I think that was handled well. The whole Dear John letter with Kimberly and the whole It's No Business Like Snow Business arc, not as good. But the whole, the arc at the I think it was like a 2 or 3 part at the end of the season, where he basically is brainwashed by Gasket, and the Rangers have to save him. I think that was also a good 2-parter. I think King for Days was called. I should have looked it up, I forgot. But yeah, so there are a few good multi-parters in this season as well. Let's see. I will say Bulk and Skull. I think this is probably the season where they were at their most useful, and while I think they reached the peak of their development and in space, having them be the cops and them be the detectives in the season, I think, was very well handled for the overall. Like, there are a few dumb episodes with them, but for the most part, I think they're really well handled. And I will say, I do like the whole Skull being revealed to be a pianist early on in the season. I like that. Also, something I forgot to mention back in Samurai, my personal theory, and maybe they explain this, I don't know, as to why Spike had to be taken care of by Bulk for that year or so. I think Skull went on tour as a classic pianist, or maybe a rock and roll pianist, I don't know. And that's why he entrusted Bulk to watch his son for that time period. Just because, maybe that's why. I mean, similar with Hole in Breaking Bad, Skinny Pete's actor was a pianist and they worked that in a couple episodes. I think that's my theory. I think that's why he was gone in Samurai, and then he comes back in the Penai to get Spike back. Let's see what else. I do like this. I think this version of the power chamber is better than the one in Turbo. I just think it looks a little bit better. That's just me though. Let's see what else. I'm kind of split on as well. Trey Typhoria. Once again, a 6th Ranger I'm split on, because I do like his origin story, but then he's basically gone for most of the season. I wish we had stuck with him as a 6th Ranger. Like, maybe go, and this is how you could have reworked it. Have Trey only be one being when he's a Ranger, but then he's split up when he's not a Ranger. So, like, his 3 cells basically are all separated when he's not morphed. I feel like you could have done a few episodes with him like that. Now, I know that and I also am aware of the behind-the-scenes issues with David Yost. I'm not going to get too much into that here. I mean, I am aware that there was some bullying involved, and he chose to leave the show on his own accord, and hey, that was his choice, okay. But I will say, bringing back Jason to be the 6th Ranger, for the most part, I think was okay. Like I said, I just feel like it was wasted opportunity with Trey not being the 6th Ranger. And what else? But yeah, all in all, this was a good season. I do like I said, how at the end of Mighty Morphin Season 3 and the Alien Rangers arc built up this season, and it was very well handled. And yeah, nothing else to say. I think this was a good season. Number 8, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. I almost screwed up the name there, sorry. this is a really good season. I gotta give props to originality on this one. I have seen a few episodes of Go-Go 5, and I am aware Go-Go 5 did not have a 6th Ranger. And Ryan, probably one of the better 6th Rangers. And even then, he's only in there like, a dozen, 15 episodes? Like, he's not actually in the season that long. Like, I was amazed rewatching how sidelined he was, basically in the second half of the season. But, man, he's a good 6th Ranger. And, again, I'm not comparing this to the Sentai. I'm just saying, a really great element. When Power Rangers does something the Sentai didn't do, and it actually works really well, like Ryan in this case, hey, props to Power Rangers. Originality can work. Now, yeah, you're limited with budget because of Sentai footage, but hey, when they did with Ryan was awesome. I do like the idea of redemption for him, and that he was basically raised to be evil. He doesn't know if he's really good or not. He gets the opportunity to become good. He has to overcome the struggle, but then once he's good, he's like, I want to do something on my own, prove myself, and then he actually comes in and helps save the day at the end of the season. So yeah, all in all, he's a really good 6th Ranger. Again, wish we would have gotten more of him than we did, but hey, for what we got, it was awesome. And the rest of the Rangers are all pretty good too. The only one that don't really care for too much is Kelsey. I just feel like maybe we could have gotten 1 or 2 more episodes focused on her. I feel like she just didn't get as much development as the rest. But hey, Carter is awesome. Dana, for the most part, is okay. I do like the relationship between her and her brother and her and her father. I think that's what kind of helps her character more than I think it would have been. Let's see what else. Miss Fairweather, I like the whole relationship with her and Joel. I mean, I think it worked out, and I'm glad they got the happy end in the end of getting married. Let's see, Captain Mitchell. I'll say this, with most Power Rangers mentors, I'd say 5 to 8 episodes into the season, well, actually, maybe even less than that for some of them, I either know I'm going to love them and I love them throughout the season, or I don't like them and I don't like them throughout the whole season. Captain Mitchell took a little bit longer than I think most of the mentors for me to really like. I do like the guy, but it wasn't really until Ryan came in and there was that whole arc that I actually said, okay, I do like this guy. Just because he took a while for me to like, that's kind of what also hurts him as a mentor. But I will say I do like the twist where he was the firefighter that saved Carter as a kid. I did not see that twist coming. I thought it was well handled. And I think, yeah, as a whole, he's a good mentor. It just took a while for me to like him. Let's see, what else? Oh, the Super Train Megazord. I love that Megazord. It's one of the few that does stand out to me. And I will say this. As a kid, I did have a train set. And I thought I could put all the train cars together and make it into a Megazord just because, again, it wasn't like a Power Rangers train. No, it was just a regular train, toy train. And I thought, turn it into a Zord just because it was awesome. Like, it was a great Zord. Let's see what else. I don't think Shurikina's Revenge is as bad as Linkara put it. I think it works. And I will say, I was one of those kids that went to McDonald's and actually got the VHS tape. And yes, I'm young enough to remember VHS tapes. So yeah, I did watch it. I thought it was good. And I think it's because I do like Lost Galaxy so much, and that one I'll get back to later. But yeah, it is not the best team-up, but I don't think it's one of the worst. I think it's just because, I will say this, introducing the Rangers a couple at a time, but I think it's also limited by the Sentai team-up movie, which I've seen. But yeah, as a whole, I think it's a good team-up. I don't think it's as bad as Linkara put it, but that's just me. But now let's get to the element, once again, that holds the season back. And that is, we once again have villains that are demons from the underworld that aren't that good. Let's start off with the worst. Look, I get why they chose the actress they did for Viper, because she looks so much like her Sentai counterpart. But man, she is not a great actress. Let's see, Queen Banshira is an okay main villain. Let's see, Olympius, he's okay villain as well. The other generals are okay. I will say this, going back to the whole talk about redemption, I do like how there is a bit of redemption at the end for oh crap, what was his name? For Diabolical, sorry, I was about to say Lokai, but no, Lokai was the other one. But yeah, Diabolical, I'm glad he kind of got a bit of redemption as a general. It's still sad he ended up basically having to sacrifice himself to save Mariner Bay. But yeah, he was a pretty good redeemable general. Just one of those generals that sadly had to be destroyed as well, trapped. But overall, he was a great general. So yeah, all in all, Lightspeed Rescue was a really good season. Once again, the villains hold it back, but now we're getting to the point in this where like there's hardly any elements that are legitimately bad, and it's actually hard for me to find things with the shows that are bad. But like I said, overall, really good season. Alright, now we're in the top third. Number 7, Power Rangers SPD. This was a really good season. I really liked this one as a kid, and I still really like it now. Once again, I will say this. Villains, the only element with the season I think kind of holds it back. I'm split on Grum as a main villain. I mean, on the one hand, he was probably one of the more successful villains in that he had multiple successes, not necessarily against the Rangers themselves, but like stealing like special metals and minerals. He had conquered or even blown up other planets. He had a full empire, like not just like the standard monsters and generals he had, and foot soldiers. He actually had pretty good build up to be intimidating, but he also, the voice did not work. He looked scary, but much like with Zed, but the voice, unlike Zed, the voice did not work. The whole him sometimes going to Earth just to go to Earth, and the whole motorcycle was kind of dumb. It was like Viper's car, which I forgot to mention with Lightspeed Rescue. Let's see what else. And, yeah, him kind of basically being a figurehead, but working for somebody else, the Omni, kind of holds him back. The generals were all just okay. I kind of wish we had gotten more than just 2, because there are a couple of, like, 1 or 2 episode generals, but then they're kind of gone for arcs, once their arc is done. But I will say this, I have seen a little bit of this SPD's counterpart, Deca Ranger. I think both are really good. Now, I haven't seen that much Deca Ranger. It's one of those Sentais I actually want to go back and watch. And I will say this. Arguably, we have 10 Rangers this season. I mean, Boom, 1 episode is Orange. We had Nova for one episode. We had a Cat Ranger, which I'll admit, knowing now that her Sentai counterpart was a Swan was kind of weird. I don't know why they made that change, but I think it works. I mean, Doggy Kruger, Cat Minx, I think it works better than a dog and a swan. And I will say, I think Doggy in the SPD version looks better than he does in the Deca Ranger version, though the whole snout and ears fitting that mask is even more confusing. And the only Ranger I don't like is Sam. I will admit, he starts off kind of interesting, but then the whole him being ball of light and stuck in the basically Ranger suit form. So once again, some of the whole Trainer Triforia thing back in Zeo kind of felt like lost or wasted opportunity. But I will say this, from what I have seen of the Sentai, I'm kind of glad they didn't copy the aspect he has in the Sentai. His sounder counterpart, I think, was a cross-dresser, which is kind of weird. I just don't... Japan has different standards than the United States on that, so I don't know if they were, how that would have worked. So I'm kind of glad they didn't try to make that work. And the 5 main Rangers, I love this team. Like, the core 5 Ranger team, I love them all. I will say, I like the civilian powers. Now, I'm split on civilian powers as a concept, but I think this season is probably the best that it's handled. I think all of them are really unique and all handled and are all work with the Rangers themselves. Though I will say it is confusing. Bridge, this season his power is green, but then in Once a Ranger it's red. I don't get that. And I think another missed opportunity in the finale. Why couldn't Boom have been promoted to green if Sky was now red and Bridge was now blue? Like, why didn't they do that? Like, all this build, Boom had to show himself in endings to be a great and competent fighter. So why didn't he get promoted to be the Green Ranger? That's my only question. Piggy, as side comic relief, okay. Once again, I don't hate him as much as Ankara does, but I will agree he was a bit annoying at times. My eyes been itching all day. I will say, this is also a season where maybe they should have gone to maybe 2050, 2060, and not 2025, because it's 2019. We're eventually going to reach the point where, in Power Rangers, if it keeps going on, we've hit the future, but it still looks like the present, not the future they predicted. And I doubt they're going to explain that. What else? I will say there are, like I said, a couple of multi-parts are okay. I think this is one of the stronger Disney-era openings and endings, which is weird because the title of them is called Beginnings and Endings. And, yeah, there are, like I said, SWAT's a good multi-parter as well. I do like, similar with a couple of seasons, this idea, oh, well, we're cops. We don't have to kill the criminals. We just capture them in the cards, which they didn't do in the Sentai. Once again, that was a change I actually kind of like. Let's see. I actually do like it when they are police officers and they don't automatically just kill people. And plus, it's implied some of them are human, but some of them are aliens. So, yeah, if it's a world where humans and aliens exist in peace, we shouldn't just straight up kill them all. I like that idea. Let's see what else. I And one other little element I want to mention, the makeup for like a lot of the aliens and the masks is handled pretty well, because it's not always just like big rubbery suit monsters. No, there are some that like maybe like fish or scales, or maybe like feathers. Like there are monsters and aliens that actually have pretty good makeup. So yeah, as a whole, this season is really good. Just like I said, once again, the villain's not that good, but there really wasn't that much bad I could say about him this time. Like, we're really getting to the point where, overall, there are very few elements, like I said, back with Lightspeed Rescue, that hold these seasons back. Very few. It's just there are a few elements, like I said, this season that don't make it great, but still really, really good season. Still think SPD is awesome. Number 6. The highest of the Neo Saban era Power Ranger seasons. Power Rangers Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge, which I will admit that name change is kind of weird. And I want to go mention this now because I didn't earlier. Even though I said I'm not putting Ninja Steel on this list, it would probably be in the A category, so this would be the only one that'd be in the good category. Just want to bring that up right now. Let's see. But yeah, Dino Charge itself. This is the one season that I said earlier that has the exception to why it's not a great season. I'll get to that in a minute. Because I do love the villains this season. Sledge is a great villain. Once again, an original to Power Rangers. Very, very good. I like the idea of a bounty hunter who basically sends monsters out to fight the Rangers. I do like how he basically wants to get the Energems for a source of power to power his ship to make him the most awesome bounty hunter. And I will say his relationship with Poisandra is kind of hit and miss with me. That's like the only element with the villains I don't like this season, is the whole him with Poisandra relationship. The generals are all okay. I will say I have seen Kyoryuger. It's one of the few Sentais I've seen all the way through. I do love both Kyoryuger and, like I said, Ninja Steel as a whole is really good. I do think the whole Fury, though, is handled better in this one than he was in Kyoryuger. I actually like that he is an actual monster with someone trapped inside him, but he still could be a monster on his own. I didn't really care for the element of how they did that in Kyoryuger. Let's see. Kiryu is an okay comic relief villain. Let's see. Now we get to Season 2. Once again, an element of originality I'll give the season praise for. Heckle and Snide. I will say I kind of wish we'd gone maybe more than just 2 or 3 episodes with that element. Maybe like 6 would have been better. But that's just me. Because I feel like, oh, this new element's introduced, then it's gone after just a couple of episodes. But Heckle, I am glad, once again, a redeemable villain. I kind of wish he had become the 11th Ranger from the Sentai because he had like that dark blue slash of hair. And I remember there was an evil Ranger in the Sentai. But, I don't know, maybe there was just some constraints behind the scenes of why they couldn't get that Ranger. I don't know. But as a whole, Heckle, a great villain. And Lord Arcanon, who was the main villain of Kyoryuger, very well handled here. Even if he wasn't in very long, he wasn't in very long in the Sentai. Or, he was around, but he wasn't as great in the Sentai either. So I think for the most part, all the villains overall were good. Rangers themselves, oh, and a Keeper, once again, a very good mentor. Something original, handled very well. I do like that he did. Even if he did, again, wish maybe if Heckle could have been the Ranger, maybe he could have. But for the most part, Keeper was a good mentor. And I do like that, again, going back to Heckle's redemption, he becomes a Keeper as well. But I'll get to that in a minute. As for our 10 Rangers, because we had a lot this season. With the exception of James, just because, one, he came in kind of late. And second, there is a bit of a plot hole left with his character. I think all the Rangers are well handled. I like Tyler and Shelby as a couple. Here's the thing, once again, something about race and Power Rangers. I'm biracial. My father's side is Latino. My mom's side is Caucasian. So one thing I always like seeing in shows and movies, it was when biracial or multiracial couples are together. I always like seeing that. I think this is a really good multiracial couple. Let's see. Once again, I do like that Chase is able to keep his New Zealand accent, and I'm glad it plays a part in his character. This is probably also the only time where going back to what I said back with Samurai, where the clip show episodes are actually somewhat more season relevant to the plot, the whole Reanimator machine, because it does come back a few times. And, so yeah, they're okay, but I don't like the Halloween Court episode. I think that's kind of dumb. So, yeah, at the very least, this is also one reason why it's so high. I think the clip show episodes are at least handled better here than they were in the rest of the Neo Saban era. But that's not saying much since I don't care for most of them. Let's see. I am aware that in the Sentai, I forgot his name. Zenowing's counterpart, again, I can't remember his name. He was the mentor figure, not keeper. But then he becomes a ranger at the end of the season. I think, unlike James, yeah, he was also brought in pretty late, but I think he was handled a lot better. Let's see, Prince Philip. I kind of wish Philip had been around a little bit longer than he was. Let's see, Koda being a caveman, I really like that element. Riley, I kind of wish we got a little bit more with his brother, but as a whole, he was really good. Maybe not, one of the weaker Rangers, to be honest, but good enough, I should say. So yeah, like I said, James is the only one, just because the whole plot hole, so he's basically almost the same age as his son, but what happened with his wife? Why didn't he tell his son he was alive? He just couldn't see him. Like I said, that's like the main plot hole with that. And then at the end of the season, is he's still stuck as a younger man. And but yeah, let's get. I've been kind of trying to prolong this. The main reason why this season's good, like I said, it wasn't the villains that hold this season back. It's the second half of season 2. With the exception of there's a couple of episodes, season 1 is near perfect. Probably the best of the 8 seasons of the Neo Saban era. Season 2, though, has a few more dumb episodes, and it's particularly the second half where it starts to fall apart. And I could kind of forgive that, but then the finale. I might do a video explaining basically my problems with the second season as a whole down the line, particularly the finale. But, yeah, this is one of the few times where the Rangers don't really win, because the world they knew was destroyed by the villain. And they go to a new world where they don't really... It's kind of like the whole Back to the Future thing. So Marty basically changed his future, but does he... no, change his timeline, but does he really... How much of his timeline can he adapt to? Well, the Rangers created a world where dinosaurs still exist. How well can they adapt to that? It's not really explained. So yeah, basically the second half of the series, Season 2, is what holds it back. Oh, and one more element I forgot to mention. I'll go through quickly. I really do like this season. The fact that Kendall and Shelby actually don't get along. It's an element with the exception of Ranger season with just one female Ranger. Almost all of them either knew each other before the series began, like they were friends or sisters, or they become friends very quickly. Maybe they have 1 or 2 episodes where they don't get along, but then they're friends the rest of the season. I do like this element that the 2 Rangers, one's a boss, one's her employee, and they don't actually get along that well. I kind of wish there had been maybe an element where, oh, well, Kendall wanted to be the Pink Ranger, Shelby stole that from her, and then they had to kind of deal with that. I kind of wish we had gotten that kind of a missed opportunity once again. But overall, the fact that they don't get along that well and they have to build up their friendship, I think is very well handled this season. So yeah, really good season. Just, like I said, it's kind of killed, and it's kind of falls down in its second half, which kind of kills it from being great for me. But yeah, I think it is the best in Neo Saban. Really good season. Number 5, the last of the good seasons, Power Rangers Dino Thunder. I really loved this season as a kid, and while I still really like it now, it just falls short of being great. But let's go through it real quick. The villains. Once again, the problem with the season's the villains, but it's not as big as a problem as past seasons. I will say this, Mesogog is a great villain. I love the whole Jekyll and Hyde they have to do with him and Dr. Anton Mercer. I think it's a really good element. And I will say, I like how he has a slightly different motivation of basically, instead of just conquering the world, it's make it suitable and habitable for dinosaur monsters again, and like basically bring it back to how it was millions of years ago. Like, it is a really different motivation. It is, he is creepy. The animatronics on his mask are incredible. And man, like, when he gets into fights, he is awesome. Also, I think he has one of the best evil villain layers, whatever you want to call it, of any Power Rangers villain. Like, it is awesome. Like, just seeing, like, him in the lab making his monsters, the experiments whenever he captures people. Like, he is a terrifying main villain. I love him. But it's his generals. Now, they're not holding this back as much as other seasons, but I will say this. Elsa / Principal Randall is an okay female general. I wish we got a little bit more of her backstory. My headcanon is that she was an assistant to Anton. When he became Mesogog, he experimented on her. That's how she became Elsa. And while she is a good fighter, as Principal Randall, it was kind of just generic evil person, and the whole, like, you know, Clark Kent disguise thing. I mean, it was funny at times, nothing too interesting. Zeltrax was okay, but again, his backstory versus his motivations are kind of confusing. He's jealous of Tommy, but, like, Linkara explained it better than I could. It's just, he's okay. Not the best general, but he's okay. And then the White Dino Ranger clone, he didn't really do much, and plus he came in kind of late. And while the whole final fight between him and Trent was cool, he was a bit underused. Like I said, it's just the generals that hold this one back. They're not really bad, I just wish we could have gotten more than we did. But compared to other seasons in this category, they're still really great. It's just enough holds it back. Now, as for the Rangers themselves, once again, I really love these guys. For a season with only 5 Rangers, I think we actually do pretty well. I'm split on the civilian powers for them compared to, say, SPD. I think it's handled better there than here. And plus, Tommy and Trent's are a bit similar. I wish they could have done something more than just Trent's, you know, I think it was camouflage, but Tommy's invisibility. I don't know. Now, I will say this. Bringing back Tommy, I think he's good here, and I think you could have easily changed his character just to be some random teacher who's been following Power Rangers for years. Either way, I think it works very well. And I do like, what was the episode called? I'm trying to remember, Fighting Spirit, where he basically encounters his past Ranger selves. That was cool. And there are a few other good episodes as well. Legacy of Power, I really like that one as well. It's a good clip show episode, even if it is a bit rushed. Lost and Found in Translation, that is how, like many other people, I was introduced to Sentai. Like, that was like the first Sentai episode, and I have seen a few episodes of this Sentai. I think it's really good. Not one of my personal favorites. I do prefer this one over the Sentai from what I've seen of it. But again, it's another Sentai I want to watch all the way through because I've seen some of it. As a whole, like I said, all 5 Rangers are good. I will say, Connor, not my favorite Red Ranger, but I do like that he has some growth. And all the other Rangers, like I said, are good. I do think Trent, and some people don't know really if he's a 6th Ranger or not, because he's technically the 5th, but I think he's really good. Let's see, what else? Okay, some of the side characters, I do think Cassidy and Devin are pretty good comic relief. Unlike, say, something like Mystic Force, I think they are around just enough and get just enough development to where they do feel like they're part of the show beyond just comic relief, but they don't overshadow the Rangers in their episodes. And Haley's a good scientific advisor. Anton, whenever he's, you know, as Anton, he's a pretty likable guy. And I do like the finale. I think this is one of the best finales in Disney. Not my personal favorite, mind you, but I do like it has the perfect blend, in my opinion, of original footage with Sentai footage. And the final fight with all those monstrous Megazogs, that was cool. The team up, it's kind of hit and miss. It's not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite. Just because it does kind of... It's the cardinal sin of any crossover team up. You can't make one team or hero look better than the other, and that unfortunately kind of happens here. But I do like the final fight in the quarry. I think it's really good. And let's see, what else? Yeah, as a whole, I think this is some of the best of the Disney era. And like I said, it just falls short from being a great season for me. But even then, my problems with it are minimal. That's why it's at the top of the good category. I think this is something that could have easily been better, but at the same time, for what we got, I think it's really, really good. And yeah, this was a really good season. And while it doesn't hold up as much as I thought it would as a kid, I knew going in this would probably be at least a top 5 or 10 season, and yep, it landed where I thought it would. So, really good. Okay, now we get to our final 4. This is the category where I consider to be the best of all of Power Rangers. These 4 seasons are the ones that if I was to recommend a season or 2 to people who've never seen Power Rangers before, these would be the 4 I would recommend. And if you've been paying attention, we have 1 Zordon era, 2 post-Zordon era, and then finally a Disney era. So where did they land? Well, let's find out. And like I said at the beginning, I'm still going to point out the problems that I have with these seasons, but most of these problems are nitpicks at best. So it's just, where did they end up basically really depends on my issues with them, because I love all 4 of these seasons. But let's see where they landed. Number 4, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. I loved this season as a kid. I still love it now, all these years later. I think it still holds up. And by the way, quick trivia note, There was this Saturday block that came out a couple of years ago called Vortex. I don't remember what channel it was on, but I remember they re-aired a few episodes of Lost Galaxy before that morning block got pulled. But I rewatched Lost Galaxy again with that. That was part of the reason why I wanted to rewatch all these seasons again. That basically rewatching on Vortex is what gave me the idea for this. And man, Lost Galaxy still holds up. I love this season. Going, once again, another comparison again to the whole Doctor Who. Like, so much of Power Rangers the first 6 seasons had all been tied together with Zordon. And now that Zordon's gone, starting fresh with all new cast, basically going all new directions, standalone, it could have easily not worked. Power Rangers could have easily failed with Lost Galaxy had it not been good. But man, not only was it good, it was great. I love this season. I still love this season. So much about it works. And what's funny is I haven't seen that much of Ginga Man. I've seen maybe a few episodes and the team up with the Mega Ranger which one of the few Sentai team ups takes place once the show's over. And from what I've seen, it is really good. And for a season that's so heavy into nature and animals, there's a risk that doing a space opera with that could not have worked. And that's one reason why I give this season so much props. Again, not comparing to the Sentai, but just doing something original, man, it worked. Terra Avenger is awesome. Like, just this idea of a space colony with Power Rangers is cool. And going to different planets, which I think probably in space is a little bit better, but still, like, and also the opening is really dark. I mean, fighting Bug, and clearly there are some influences from Starship Troopers, which for me as a series I'm mixed on, to be honest. But, like, using some of the suits, this idea of fighting bug monster aliens, and it's just so much of the season is so cool. I like, once again, I like having the Zords be alive and the Rangers interacting with them. Now, from what I've read and heard from the Sentai, all the Rangers can understand their Zords, whereas here I think it's only Maya who can. And I'll get back to her character in a second, but I do like the idea of Zords being alive, and I think it's handled really well here. Though, admittedly, something that is a bit of an issue. Well, again, Linkara pointed these two out. One, where are these things hiding on Terra Avenger? And second, whenever the Rangers go into space, how does Terra Avenger never notice the doors opening, spaceships flying all around, all these battles? You know, it's nitpicky, I get it, and I'll get to a few more in a minute. But yeah, let's get to the Rangers themselves. Love this team. Though I will say, one thing I forgot to mention back in Lightspeed Rescue, why does so much of this team carry over to the next team? You have the blonde pink Ranger, you have the tomboyish brunette yellow Ranger, the black Ranger, the black guy is the green Ranger, Asian guy blue Ranger, and I don't know, just like so much of Lost Galaxy Rescue in terms of the Rangers carries over from Lost Galaxy. A bit weird, I forgot to mention it there, but nevertheless, just what I want to point out. But yeah, I love this team. I love Leo's story. I think like he is a really good Red Ranger. Let's see, I do like Mike. I am glad he came back. I consider him 6th Ranger even if Power Rangers doesn't anymore. But yeah, and the whole Magna Defender arc, it's amazing. I love the Magna Defender. I am aware in the Sentai that it was his brother, not his son. But I think that was an okay change. I love how some people might argue his arc went on a little bit too long. I do argue, yeah, you could have maybe taken out 2 episodes just because it feels like it drags a little bit by the end. But that's an issue with the first third of the season as a whole, which I'll get back to in a second. But yeah, as a whole, love the Magna Defender. The villains, these villains, the first couple of generals are okay. I do disagree with Linkara, though. I think Trecheron was better than Linkara made him out sound to be. And I am aware that they didn't get all the villains' suits early on in the Sentai. That's why so many of the villains at the beginning are original. But I think that works. Scorpius, I think, okay, he could have been a little bit better, but Trakina, one of the best main villains. And I wish we had more awesome female villains in Power Rangers, but hey, again, Sentai footage. She's awesome. I do love the finale of Leo having to fight her in her insect form. That is creepy. I still find that creepy to this day. All these years later, like the makeup, the costume, it's just awesome. Let's see, what else? The generals, like I said, with the exception of Furio, I really like all the generals. I think the monsters, for the most part, are cool. Except for the foot soldiers, one of the few times I will bring up the foot soldiers, they're not really that intimidating fighters. And I will say, and I'll get back to this in a minute with the Lost Galaxy, I do think Captain Mutiny coming in at the last third, he's a good villain. Good excuse to use more Sentai footage. Love to the 10th Power. It is a great team up. So much about this season I love. But let's get into the one thing that holds this season back. This is literally the only thing, to me, that's the legitimate problem with the season and why it only comes number 4. The season is called Lost Galaxy, but we don't get into the actual Lost Galaxy the last third of the season. And it almost makes the season sound like a bit of a lie. Now hear me out. It's called Lost Galaxy. It's great build-up. Like, that's one of the things that I think works so well with the season. It's so much gradual and getting better and better build-up. Then, like, around, like, what, episode 30, 35, we finally get into the Lost Galaxy. And it's great. I love what they do with the Lost Galaxy. Again, I don't mind the whole Captain Unity basically taking over as a villain, because I think he's great. I do love, like, you know, his castle's on a giant dinosaur floating through space. I think it's cool. It's just, we spend so much build-up, and we're there, what, maybe not even 12 episodes? Like, so much could have been more. We could have done so much more there. Now, I will say I have two solutions for this. One, maybe you could have moved a few filler episodes from the first half of the season into the Lost Galaxy, or just get rid of them altogether, because I am aware there was some behind-the-scenes issues with the first third of the season, where they didn't finish writing all the scripts before they started filming, or there were a few episodes they kind of had to redo or change, because they were having some issues early on. But I don't, and again, that kind of goes into the Magna Defender arc. But like I said, that is my only real complaint. And while it sounds nitpicky, I think it is a legitimate complaint. I just wish we could have gotten more with the Lost Galaxy than we got. And one last thing to mention. Once Kendra Xatris was diagnosed with leukemia and had to leave the show, I'm glad that they brought back Astronema to take her place as Pink Ranger. I actually like both. And the fact that we once again give her some redemption as a villain, becoming a hero as a Ranger, it's great. And her coming back to life at the end is a bit hit or miss, take it as you or leave it. But yeah, as a whole, love Lost Galaxy, still holds up to this day. Great season. Hard to top it, but of course, 3 seasons did, so let's see what comes next. Number 3, Power Rangers RPM. I love this season. I know I'm going to say this probably every single one of these, but man, I love this season. And this was the only one of my top 4 I did not actually watch when it was on. So when I finally did watch it, I was like, wow, this season's great. And real quick, shout out to Girls Heart Geeks, their channel that's no longer on YouTube, but I actually saw a few episodes of it when they were reviewing it, because they kind of had like a show where they'd review the episodes one at a time. And I actually kind of got introduced to the season originally through them, but then I watched the whole thing again on my own, and man, this season is amazing. Now, I want to get something out of the way real quick. There is this whole, I guess, flawed idea that if you make something for kids more mature or grown up by making it darker, that automatically makes it better. No, that's not the case. Just making it darker doesn't automatically make it better, but RPM is an example where that can work if done right. They do make it darker, but they also add in good character, a lot of humor, and a really strong story. That's what actually makes something darker, more grown up actually work. And man, like, it's just so much about RPM works. First off, let's get the biggest thing out of the way right now. RPM is probably the darkest season for a reason. The villain basically wiped out most of the planet. There's, as far as we know, only one city left on the planet. They even say in the opening, the Dome City is the only city left. So that right off the bat makes this a really dark season. But man, it works. Like, the villains are awesome, and also something that's really cool. Most of the monsters don't talk. I think only like 2 or 3 of the monsters ever talked, which already made them creepy. They just have the robotic sounds, which can be annoying at times, but it's still awesome. Now, I've not yet seen the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, so I'm aware of the HAL 9000 imagery with Venjix, and it is a bit on the nose, but to be fair, it's seen all the time in kids' shows. This, WALL-E, Recess, The Simpsons, like, they've all parodied 2001 by having the HAL 9000 imagery with the red dot. So, I mean, but hey, it works here. The generals are kind of generic run-of-the-mill generals, but they still have their moments of being intimidating. I'll take it. Tanai is a great female general, and the twist of her being Dylan's sister is really well handled. Now, I will admit, I think it's handled a little bit better in space, but I think just because I think it was space, I think part of it was just because it was, I think, paced a little bit better, and I think that's part of the few things that hurt this season, but I'll get back to that in a little while. I love pretty much every Ranger we have this season. Jim and Gemma could be a bit annoying at times, and I preferred them best when they had their, like, that few episode arc where we kind of got their focus episodes where they kind of were on their own and they didn't do the twin talk. Now, I didn't hate it, but it did get a bit annoying at times, so I'm kind of glad they had that point in the middle where they kind of stopped it, but I kind of don't like that they went back to it. And something I will say about Ninja Steel, I'm glad they brought Gemma back so we could see her on her own, which, again, she was good when she was on her own here, too. Same with Gemma. Love Ziggy. Love his relationship with Dr. K. I'm aware they got married in real life, and last I heard they're not married anymore, but I didn't really look that up to see if it's true or not, but if it is, oh well. They had great chemistry in the show. I think our three main Rangers, for the most part, are pretty good. Scott at least got some good development. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more with Summer and Flynn. And, of course, Dylan is awesome. Kind of makes me wish we had gotten Dylan in a previous season as a Red Ranger, how that would have worked. Like a cyborg Red Ranger who has amnesia as a leader. That would have been awesome. Most of the side characters are also pretty good. General Truman, he's pretty good. Doc K is a pretty good mentor. Most of the supporting cast as well, like Hicks and Vasquez. And I'm aware there are a few references to other shows and movies. There's the America's Got Talent parody, and I think episode 4. There's, of course, a few others as well, movie parodies. All in all, really great cast, really great team. All the characters are really good. Like I said, only a couple I really don't love. But like I said, there's so few that it almost makes up for it with all the others that are awesome. Let's see, what else? I will say, having the 4 Megazords become 1, it does look ridiculous here, but oh well. Oh, and also, that reminds me, the self-referential humor, because by this point Power Rangers has gone on over 15 years, it works with RPM, especially with the episode Ranger Blue. And I do like that they kind of make, just like the humor, again, like this is actually, even though it's the darkest season, it's actually one of the funniest, because we don't really have a comic relief character, it's more just comic relief spread out amongst all the Rangers. They all have their shades of humor, or different shades of humor, excuse me. Oh, and the Flynn being Scottish. I know he's not Scottish, but man, I actually thought he was Scottish when I first saw it. I was like, oh wow, this guy's accent, like he does a great job with it. The finale is one of the few things that I don't hate, I just wish it was a little bit better. I mean, the whole mind-controlled humans kind of started to go somewhere, then it didn't. It's one of the few times I think the Sentai finale actually was a little bit better, like that big final Zord fight, whereas here they just basically gave him a computer virus and then crushed him to death. And of course the whole ambiguous ending of whether or not Venjix is still alive inside the Red Ranger Morpher. Now I haven't looked up too much on Beast Morphers, but one thing I have read is that there will be some connections to RPM. If I'm right, then I'm wondering if that's how they're going to address it, because you know it's adapting from GoBusters, excuse me. GoBusters, so, and there were some references to seasons like RPM in that season. I haven't seen that Sentai, but I might try and look up a few episodes prior to Beast Morphers just because. And I have seen some episodes of Go Onger. I think RPM way better though. Let's see what else. I think my main issue with the season, sorry, running nose today. My main issue with this season and why it only comes third is it kind of has the opposite problem of Lost Galaxy. Whereas Lost Galaxy I think had a few too many episodes or probably could have moved a few episodes later in the show. I wish RPM had added maybe 6 episodes because this one was only 32. I feel like if we had 38, I think that would have given it a little bit more, like maybe an extra filler episode for a couple of the Rangers, maybe a backstory as to what Jim and Gemma's childhood was like and how they survived outside, maybe an episode, or even a 2-parter explain how the 3 Rangers came together, how Dr. K recruited them, you know, when she was just the computer screen voice. Like I said, just maybe a couple more episodes. Now there is a risk that it could have hurt the pacing of the season. I'm aware of that, but I think that's my only real issue. I wish we could have gotten just a few more fillers, a little bit more backstory than we got. I actually do like the ending, how Summer, Tanaya, and Dylan go out in the world. I think everyone ends on good terms this season, even if they do have to give up their powers. I love the connections of everybody. Just love this season. Like I said, very, very little holds it back. And that's what made picking these top 4 so hard. I knew going in these were going to be my top 4, but placing them was hard. But yeah, love this season. But like I said, just shy of my top 2, but let's see who came number 2, and then of course, we'll see who made number 1 once you know who number 2 is. Number 2, Power Rangers Time Force. It's hard to find someone who doesn't at least really like this season, because there's just so much about it that is awesome, and man, this season is awesome. I mean, again, one of the few times I'm going to bring this up, the theme song. Oh, I love this season theme song from the beginning. First time I heard it, I will agree, Linkara, a bit too atonal, but you can get over that very quickly. I will say, I haven't seen much of Time Ranger, but Time Ranger is one of the few Sentais where their theme song I do not like, and Time Force just blows it out of the water. Love this cast. I mean, probably one of my favorite Power Rangers teams, which leads to the one main issue I have with this season. I want to get that out of the way now. While I do love this Ranger team, I do love the relationship between Wes and Jen, and I am glad that while it didn't end on the best note at the end of the season, it kind of continued with Wild Force. And while I've heard of some, like I said at the very beginning of this video, I'm not going to count anything outside the show's account, but I am aware of that their relationship continues a little bit in Hyperforce, not counting that, because like I said, it's not an official season, a television season. But let's see. And I do think Eric is a really great Sixth Ranger, probably one of my top 5 favorite Sixth Rangers. I will say, I wish we could have gotten a little bit more with Lucas, Katie, and Trip. That's my one main thing. I think those 3, while really good, wish we could have gotten a little bit more with them than we did, because I feel like there's a lot of focus on Alex, Jen, and Eric, that those 3 get a bit sidelined. But I think in the few episodes they do get focused, they're all handled pretty well. Love the villains. I mean, no other way I can say this. Like I said, I've seen a little bit of Time Ranger, and I think that having Gluto be the, basically just be like the comic relief villain, I think it works compared to a lot of other comic relief villains. Because I think because he's minimally used, I think it works just enough even though the fart jokes do get old fast Power Rangers, which is something I've tried to avoid. Let's see, Rancic, no question, once again, probably my top 5 favorite villains, and again, props to Wild Force for giving him extra redemption. Something about Rancic that really makes him stand out as a villain. He's arguably the only villain the Power Rangers never actually defeat. I mean, he was winning that final fight. The only reason why he stopped was because he injured his daughter, and he chose to surrender. Speaking of which, Nadira, took a little while for me to like her, but I'd say by the second half of the show, I really started to really love her. It just took a while for me to like her, but I do like the relationship between Rancic and Nadira. It works better than, say, other villains who are supposedly family members. I think it works really better, probably best here. And Frax, yeah, paraphrasing Linkara, he has I think a stronger backstory than Rancic, but I think what happens to him is tragic, and I think it works. Feel sorry for the guy. And no joke, at first I thought he was voiced by Tom Kenny, because something about him just sounds like Tom Kenny, but no, it's not Tom Kenny, but nevertheless, yeah, love basically almost all the characters. Oh, and Mr. Collins, I do like his development. It's very rare where a side character or a family member of a Ranger that's not, you know, around that often actually gets pretty good development. And he took a while, admittedly, but I think it works. Basically, once he almost died and he came back thanks to Alex, which I'll get back to in a second, I think he really works as basically what he's supposed to be there for. He's a bit of a jerk, but he kind of redeems himself over the course of the season, and I think it works. I think the team up this season is kind of middle ground. I do agree with Linkara that it should have probably been a 2-parter, but as a whole, it's okay. I mean, I'll take it rather than leave it. And while I said back in Ninja Storm, I think Shane's Battleizer is my favorite. I think Wes's is probably my second favorite. And by the way, I said Alex earlier. I meant to say Wes. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry, but yeah, Wes, I think he has the second best Battleizer. I think it looks awesome. I love that episode, even if it's just a one-part episode. Fighting a dragon to unlock the Battleizer. How cool is that? I mean, and I'll admit it, like the flame wings, the flame sword, like it just looks cool. Like just, I know, I get it. You're limited because it's American footage, but I really wish they'd use this, like get to the Battleizers early on in the show. But I get it, it's some original footage, so you kind of have to hold it back, or you're restricted to say Megazords. But man, I love this one. Let's see what else. Really great finale, like I said. And I do, similar back with SPD, like how because they're police officers and the whole idea of mutants, they're not necessarily, they could be somewhat human. So they're against killing them. I think that is kind of an important lesson, that violence, while it sometimes is the answer, death doesn't have to be. Of course, they do kill the Black Knight, so yeah, take that as you will. Let's see, what else? I actually think the Clock Tower is a pretty cool base. Again, I'm kind of avoiding just because the bases, very rarely do I have anything unique to say about them, but I think it really works, and the idea of an odd jobs business. I mean, the Sentai kind of did something similar, but I think it works as well. Let's see what else. Let's see. The Zords, average, didn't really care for the whole back and forth between blue and red. I kind of wish they just stuck with one. Don't know why they went with that. Let's see. I kind of wish that we'd kept the time ship around more than it was, because that was actually a pretty cool set. Let's see, there was one more element. I'm looking back at what it was. Oh yeah, the Silver Guardians. I kind of like this idea of like a military branch kind of helping out with the Rangers, because other seasons have also done it. I mean, RPM kind of did it. Lightspeed Rescue kind of did it, but I think this is probably the season where I liked it the most. And once again, going back to with Eric's character development, that he basically kept showing up less and less as Eric kind of kept helping out the team more and more. And of course, and Alex, what I was trying to say earlier with Alex, I do actually like this idea that Alex originally died, but then as the Rangers were changing the past, it kind of helped bring him back to life, and he was so devoted to the job that, and I think maybe he was like that in the beginning, basically before the series, and how it affects his relationship with Jen as she's kind of gotten used to the past with Wes. Although I really agree with Linkara, her kind of having a thing with Wes is kind of like falling in love with her boyfriend's young grandfather. It is a bit weird, but I can deal with it. And yeah, I am glad that the Wild Force finales, Team Up is one of the few that I think actually gives true finality for a past Rangers season. I kind of wish more Team Ups did that, but of course I also wish we had more Team Ups. But yeah, all in all, love this season. The problems I have with it are minimal, and that's why it's number 2. But like I said, it's number 2, so now let's get into number 1. And number 1, Power Rangers in Space. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. I don't like using the term cliche, but I know it is a bit cliche to say Power Rangers in Space is the best. But to be fair, yeah, it is an awesome season. I mean, most people put in their top 5. A lot of people put it as their number 1, and I'm going to put it as my number 1 as well, because so much about this season is just awesome. It really does bring the original Zordon era Power Rangers to an end in a strong way, especially recovering from Turbo. And I was worried going to this list, am I going to be a bit nostalgia blind or think, oh, okay, because it followed Turbo, which was considered one of the worst seasons, that it would basically make In Space look good? Does it actually still hold up? In my opinion, yeah, it still holds up. It's still, in my opinion, the best season of Power Rangers. While I did say earlier, I did think Bulk and Skull were at their best in terms of usage with Zeo, I do agree with Linkara that here, bringing their characters to true finality. While I do like their appearances out after the season, I think this is really the peak of their characters. I do like what goes on with Captain Phenomenus, and I do wish we could have gotten a few more episodes with it than we did. It's kind of like here in the beginning, 1 or 2 episodes in the middle, and then a couple episodes at the end. I kind of wish we'd gotten a little bit more with them than we did, but what we did get, I think, was good. As for the Rangers themselves, because all the Rangers, well, most of the Rangers were introduced back in Turbo, and one of my issues with Turbo is that, you know, kind of introducing all these new Rangers, I worry that they wouldn't get as much development, and they didn't really get, they got a lot of their development started, but I'm glad that with bringing these 4 Rangers back for In Space, their characters basically got their final developments. I think all Rangers worked this season. Andros, while not the best Red Ranger, he is still really great. And same with Zane. He's not the best 6th Ranger, but he's really great as well. I think they're both really, really good Red and 6th Rangers. And I do like the friendship between the two, which comes off with some Red and 6th Rangers better than others. I think this is one of the best examples of that, of them feeling like they are indeed best friends. Because sometimes, in some reasons, in Power Rangers, they try to go that the Red Ranger and the 6th Ranger either have a rivalry or are trying to build up friendship. I think this is one of the better ones where that happens. I prefer this version of Alpha 6 over the one from Turbo. I mean, that one's kind of obvious. And it's a shame, Dekka, she has a good character. I kind of wish we got more with her than we did. Now, she's kind of comes back for Lost Galaxy, but I think she's underplayed in Lost Galaxy. Whereas Alpha's still somewhat useful in Lost Galaxy, whereas here she wasn't. Let's see, who else? Okay, I want to bring this out of the way now. I, as a kid, did not watch the version of TMNT that was on, the Next Mutation one, when this season was airing. I'm a fan of TMNT now, and I do argue the 2012 Nickelodeon series is the best. I don't hate the episode they did with the TMNT, but I will say it could have been better than it was, especially if they had gone with a different TMNT series, but hey, they were limited with what happened at the time. So yeah, I don't hate that episode, but it is definitely one of the few stains on this season, but I had to bring it up. Zordon, basically him having to die, Andros having to basically destroy him to save the universe, that still to this day, if I watch the Z-Wave clip, it still gets me a bit sad just seeing, wow, that wise old mentor is finally gone, and it's just, it's heartbreaking still to this day. Like, the finale is one of the strongest finales in all of Power Rangers. And just the scope of, like, worldwide destruction on multiple worlds. Seeing all the Ranger allies that came back. The Equation Rangers, the Phantom Ranger, the Blue Centurion. Kind of wish we had gotten maybe a scene of Justin in the Blue Turbo Ranger suit again fighting. And then him being defeated as well. Like, I wish we, like, but, and then, like, assuming if other past Rangers are fighting as well, they've also been defeated. But then having the Z-Wave save the planet. And then, of course, Bulk and Skull and all the civilians taking part in the finale. That was awesome. The Psycho Rangers arc. From what little I've seen of Mega Ranger, I think both work really well. And, of course, bringing the Psycho Rangers back for Lost Galaxy, also awesome. But, man, the Psycho Rangers still freak me out to this day. Like, man, those things are creepy. Just the suits, the masks, the voices. Like, it is awesome. Let's see. Much like Linkara, but I won't go on this one as much. The whole theme of good versus evil, I think this is one of the best seasons for it. It's also ended pretty well in Time Force and a couple of the seasons, like RPM. Like, is it true? Are you truly good? Are you truly evil? Is there a way to be redeemed? Astronema, really great main villain. Glad, and again, back what I said with RPM, I think the whole her being revealed as the Red Ranger, well, in this case, Black Ranger, Red Ranger, whatever, sister, was handled a little bit better here than in RPM. I think overall, the villains were really good. The Quantrons were at least better than Piranhatrons, but I don't know. One thing that confused me, are they robots or are they not robots? Because sometimes it's hinted they're robots, sometimes it's hinted they're not. Because, I mean, there's a couple times where they can, like, take their armor off. And I think Zane and Andros did that once or twice. Let's see, what else? Really like the theme song. What was his name? Darkonda. I really like this idea of a bounty hunter as a general. I kind of wish we did that more often than we did. One thing I mentioned in Ninja Storm was how I liked Vexicus. So Darkonda was also really good. Let's see. Ecliptor was also really awesome. He was a really great villain. Kind of sad he got destroyed in the end. But yeah, but in the end, he was still pretty cool. Also, with the Z-Wave, glad to see all those other villains kind of got a chance to become, I guess, human. Of course, the Mystic Mother thing from Mystic Force with Rita. Don't really know what happened with the Zed, but assuming something similar happened with him, glad that happened. There are still a few dumb fillers here and there, but even then, I think they're still okay for the most part. Oh, and I'm glad Adam came back as well to fight alongside Carlos. I think that was awesome. But yeah, all in all, really love this season. What few problems I have with him, like with the others from this category, very minimal at best. And yeah, still to this day, this season holds up. The only thing that really doesn't hold up are the special effects, but even then, they did not hold up by 90s standards. Like some of the shots of in space, or some of the like explosions, yeah, they do not hold up well. But the mega ship is still awesome. I haven't seen that much of the Sentai, but I'm glad we do get a lot of shots on the mega ship itself. It's a cool set. And I'm glad they brought it back for, like I said, Lost Galaxy and then later Wild Force. So yeah, as a whole, love this season. And one last comparison to Doctor Who. The fourth Doctor is considered by many to be the best. He's not my favorite, but he's still awesome. But he has this classic line from his first episode. You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definitive article, you might say. Well, it's fitting. In the final episode of In Space, TJ says, "We are the Power Rangers." And it just made me think, sometimes the best incarnation of something has to remind you of that fact. And in this case, yes, this is the best season of Power Rangers of all time, in my opinion. And just like that, I am finally done. I haven't looked the exact time, but I know that this video right now is probably almost an hour and a half long. So if you stuck through and listened to my thoughts on every single Power Ranger season, appreciate it, you and your viewership. If you really like this video, please click the like button. Please share a comment in the description below. Share this video with others. And if you want to share your thoughts, your top 10, your top 5, your number 1 season Power Rangers, if you don't agree with me on some of my opinions on some seasons, let me know. I'll try to comment on anybody who comments on mine. And I just really want to thank everyone who stuck through and watched this video. Again, I'm not a big YouTube channel guy, and I work 2 jobs. I do not have the time to make YouTube a career. And like I said, as you've noticed, my beard's a lot thicker now than it was when I started, because I've been working on this video off again, on again for like 2 weeks. I'd work on a few a day, go a few days, do a few more. So I'm glad I finally got it done. Can finally move on to a new video. And right before I started doing this, I was working on a graphic novel. Hopefully that video will be up within the next week or so, as well as a few other videos I got planned for February. So thank you for watching this, and yeah, if you like it, let me know in the comments, and if you don't, well, let me know what you think, because I appreciate your viewership. Alright, take care.